A disturbing new video moments after a man is gunned down in the doorway of a convenience store. The customers continue to come and go, stepping right over the dying man. No one calls for help for 5 minutes. Joining me now, Arthur Idala, criminal defense attorney, Alexis McGill Johnson, who's executive director of the American Values Institute, and David Webb, co-founder of Tea Party 365. This is disgusting.
It is.
I don't get it. I don't get it. I get, like, okay, there may be danger and I'm going to step back. I don't get you step over the dead body, Alexis.
No, and you let the door slam on the dead body. I mean, first of all, the dead body has a name. His name was Jheryl Wright. He was a father. He had 2 young daughters, and he was, you know, a graduate from high school. He was working his way through community college. And the idea that we don't even see his humanity lying on the ground, to me, is completely shocking.
Yep. I'm going to get to you on the legal aspects in 1 second, but I want to ask you, Dr. Abloh talks about how we're too much like this. Yeah. And it's all, you know, we're not connecting with each other, and he thinks that, in part, is why we see things like that.
It's a very important reason, and it started with the Walkman, where we insulated ourselves from society. Now it's an iPhone or an iPod. We've become almost immune to the humanity around us. The convenience store has a phone. There's a clerk. There's somebody working there. You see this because you can see in the video that the clerk is right there at that position, like many stores. And you've got to ask yourself, where do you disconnect? And we have a real problem in society. How do we make the reconnection to that? It's really a cultural issue. It's a cultural issue.
So my best friend is a prosecutor in Brooklyn, Josh Hanshaft. In Brooklyn, New York, a woman in the emergency room just falls off the chair and dies on the ground. And I believe it's a half an hour, Megan. Security guards are there, other patients, nurses are walking by. You're in a hospital, a reputable hospital. Now, he sat down, he did all his research. They couldn't find a strong enough law that was really applicable because, as you know, there is no criminal law for stepping over a dead body.
They don't require you to be a good Samaritan.
Correct. There's a lot of civil ramifications, but in terms of putting handcuffs on somebody and prosecuting them, it's disgusting, but there wasn't a crime.
Well, let me ask you this, because maybe we are all too old. Maybe we need to have a panel of 20-year-olds who have grown up, you know, the past 10 years or 15 years doing this. I mean, I don't know how one gets so disconnected that one steps right over. It is not like, you know, the guy got in trouble for taking a picture of the guy who got pushed onto the subway track.
How about the selfie on the bridge of the attempted suicide?
But those are so removed. This is, you are interacting with a suffering human being, and you literally step on over him. I mean,
go to the parents. Go to the people who are teaching. What were you and I taught by our parents about just being people? This is where it's losing. We've got a generation of people who are, frankly, some of them not qualified to be parents, raising children who then grow up to be adults without that context. It is a technology issue, and it literally started with the Sony Walkman to today, but you can't blame the technology. The culture comes from our parents.
You're right. It is what you're grown up. What happened in the schoolyard in 1973 when I saw Israel Wasserstein and Mohammed Rabah having a fight, and I went over and I calmed it all down. I was like a little kid, but that's like how I was brought up.
We're being taught to be bystanders, and that is really the fault.
Because it happened. Remember, this just happened, not just, but a couple years ago in Connecticut, where the guy was there was a hit and run, and he was lying in the road, and nobody called for help. Here, this is it. Look, and no one called for help. I mean, it just seems to me when we see things like Newtown, Connecticut, and so on, and then we do these deconstructions of there needs to be more human connection. That, you know, society needs to be watching out for these people. Are these examples of the society we're living in now, or is this just the worst of humanity in a smaller element than?
It's an example that can spread, and that's where we really have to watch for it. So anyone, not just a parent, who's in a position of teaching or setting an example, including a peer. Peers play a big role in 100%.
This.
Yeah. You know, we were peers in high school and college. That's another aspect.
And you know what Dr. Abloh also says? He says, you know, sometimes we are too engaged to be followers, and we don't think that we think somebody knows something we don't. So there's a reason they're stepping over. Like maybe he's drunk, and I should stay away.
If you saw the video of her mother,
but you shouldn't feel. The mother's
the mother of the young man. She's just like, I hope none of you sleep at night. And you walked over my dying son.
I know. All right. Well, and on that note, we're going to shift gears because we have some important photos of Arthur to show you. Right after the break. Plus, a major winter storm is impacting 1/3 of Americans. Coming up, we'll show you the way